Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Front. This is your match preview for Manchester United against Leeds. Um, first pre-season game, which obviously kicks off tomorrow. Not only that, really excited to do my first ever watch on the channel. So be sure to tune into that. Shit, I got something in my eye. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, really excited for that. But anyway, let's jump in. So Leeds, of course, one of Manchester United's rivals. Great to have them back in the Premier League. And obviously, what's good about this preseason as well is that that they're in the Premier League because I think 2 years ago when we signed Mount, they were in the Championship, and it wasn't really benefiting apart from fitness or whatever, but really because I think they just got relegated and it was unlikely we were gonna face them in the League Cup or the FA Cup. So but obviously they're back in the league and obviously some new faces. Um, but before I get to them, I wanted to talk about the lineup I gave. Now, obviously, it may look strong, especially since it's the first preseason game. Normally, when you have a first game of preseason, then obviously the tour happens to wherever United go. Normally, it's more of a youthful team, you know. But probably you never know with Amri. He might go a strong lineup like I've just had with this team I picked. Obviously, it does look like a team that um, it looks like probably a team that you're starting the league. So, I mean, obviously I did put Cunha that I feel like he has to start. Obviously people are eager to see him play. I think that's probably the only exciting thing. I mean, apart from the football, whatever, and see United play, I think it's just Cunha that's more of the that people are intrigued to see. So obviously I did go with Bayern there and goal because obviously Anana injured. Maybe he might go with Tom Heaton or Radovitek. Obviously Maguire, Euro, and Delict, which some people think is our best back three. Um, Obviously Martinez is injured. Obviously some people would put Mazraoui in their back three, but I've gone with them three because at wing back I went with Ahmad. Now it might be controversial because Bruno putting in the 10, people might put him in the 8. I don't see Bruno as an 8. I really don't. Um, I did spoke on it on depth um on my keep so bench video. I don't know if it's been released. Probably has been, but anyway, I don't prefer him as an 8. So 10 I put him at next to Cunha, obviously Hojlund up front. Maino and Casemiro in the midfield. Maybe would I mean some people would have put Maino because you kind of feel like where would you play? So yeah, and then Dorgo on the wing back. I mean, I'd be glad if obviously Amarin does put players like Shea. Actually, I was about to say Shea Lacey, but before I started recording this, he was actually injured, so um, big bummer for him. But probably you could see Amas, Collier, who we have seen before, Cheeto, Heaven, Sekou Kone. So there are some obviously young players that we could see on this, um, in this game. And probably potentially maybe Amrin might take them to on tour with them to obviously the States. So yeah, I've gone with that. Obviously went with predictions 2-1. I was thinking why not? Yeah, it might be tough, but yeah, I went like, you know what, Cunha, why not? Why not? I wouldn't be surprised if he'd score. And Hojlund, just one of those where Cunha might help him with some service and he probably bags one in. And obviously Cunha man of the match. Um, so yeah, that's what I went with. And I want to talk about Leeds. Now, obviously, I think it's been 3 years since Leeds have been back in the league, and obviously there are some similar faces. There's some new faces. Now, obviously, we won't play Leeds till our first game in on 2026, and I know it's a really long time, but you never know. We might face them in the League Cup or whatever. How far they go, but that'll probably be the actual game that we actually have with Leeds. So yeah, it's nice to see face Leeds, um, and obviously get to know who they are, the players and what they're capable of. Now, obviously, we might know some players, and so will you, like Daniel James, former Manchester United player, Bamford, Nonto, uh, Melia, Meslia, I don't know, I butchered that. Brendan Aronson, Strauch, Ethan Ampadu, Jack Harrison. Who else? Is there someone else? Gelhart. And yeah, that's about it. And then obviously new faces that I haven't heard. But to be honest, I mean, players that you should actually look out for. Obviously Dan James with his lightning pace. Nonto again. I remember when he scored very early on. If you guys remember at Old Trafford, we drew 2-2, and he just scored in like 50 seconds. I'm thinking, like, what the hell? Already like that. Joe Peroy. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce these names. Was their top scorer, so he's one to look out for. Um, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, when you like talk about these names and familiar faces, like you kind of feel like, you know what, it's not a bad team. Now, obviously, they haven't done business. Leeds, and I think they signed some. I think they signed some Syria centre back. So yeah, that's about it. I know. Otherwise, they haven't been doing business like Sunderland or Burnley. Um, but you have to really say it. Like looking at Leeds from where they obviously failed to clinch promotion. I mean, they lost who did they lost? They lost Jorginho Ruta, who's at Brighton, Somerville, Archie Gray, absolute talent, and there was one more. I forgot Jack Harrison, but he technically went on loan and at Everton for 2 years, and he's back. So yeah, obviously it's nice to see Leeds back. As I said, great addition to the Premier League, um, and yeah, it's great to see how we'll face how we will face them in this match. Now, obviously, back to Amrin. Obviously, this is a preseason. He needed so much, and this is like, I wouldn't be surprised if he went strong, because this is where you're at this point where you're using these games to see how Amrin actually wants his team to play. Now, look, obviously, I did went with Ahmad Wimba because he does go with one side as a winger, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went with Dallo, because obviously, uh, bias towards players. He might put Mazraoui in centre half, and he might put Bruno Lier and put Ahmed at number 10. I wouldn't be surprised. But this is what I would go with if I was Amrin, or think he would go with. Um, or his best. I mean, it is pre-season, but it's not about what's the first lineup for like our first game against Arsenal. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, this is what I've gone with. Am I missing someone? I feel like I'm missing someone. I don't know who, because look, I mean Ugarte. I could have put Ugarte in, but I don't know what it is, the hate or whatever with Ugarte. It's just unreal, because so many players wanted this guy in, and it's like after a season, you guys want him out after pleading Ineos that you wanted him. So it just surprises me. But anyway, am I missing something? That's about it for the preview. Um, so yeah, really excited. Obviously, don't forget watch along. First ever watch along on the channel. So I'm glad that's happening because I haven't been able to do a proper watch along on my channel. So glad to do it. But yeah, am I missing something? Nope, that's about it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. And what are your predictions? Tell me. And obviously, my lineup. Probably you guys have different lineup compared to mine. Who would you put down? Thank you guys for watching.